Hello and welcome to another episode of the podcast where we will reassure you that football is fixable. Alright? Alright, Sess?
Alright, James. Alright, Dan.
Alright, sis. Alright, James.
Yeah, alright.
Alright.
Yeah.
Alright. Alright.
So, alright, that's enough of that. Well, we have a huge one today, don't we, Sess and Dan? It's we have an absolutely massive one today. Don't we, boys?
Yeah, but I flushed, so it's fine.
Oh my god. We've got a massive episode for you lot today. Haven't we, Dan? And Sess. For fuck's sake. We have an absolutely painstakingly brilliant episode for you lot today. Haven't we, boys?
Yes.
Well, let's see.
I was
Yeah.
trying to create like one of those manly kind of movie trailers, you know.
That's probably why you couldn't pull it off.
Oh, is
Yeah.
that what?
Oh. So you want to do like
This summer.
You want to do like
Oh, yeah. In a world.
Yeah. We've got
this episode. Sess takes on Dan in
Yeah.
what we are now calling the challenge of.
Oh yeah, we don't know if we've got a name for this yet, but we are having a proper debate. But there are some rules to it as well. So it's Messi versus Ronaldo. Which one is better?
Yeah.
But
A proper debate as opposed to one of those improper debates.
Yeah, exactly.
the
Yeah.
details and the rules around this, though, they are important. So we have to use our rules. So we fixed how do you, assess player performance, how we use trophies and whether we should use them to say one player's better than another. And
Statistics in general. Yeah.
bias we fixed. So we're going to use our rules and how if you're going to compare things, it needs to be done in the right way.
Yeah.
So we're going to do that, but there's a twist as well. So Sess, we've spoken a lot over the years. I know that really you believe that Messi's the best player of the two, right?
Correct.
So you're going to be on Ronaldo's side. You're going to be fighting the case. You're going to have to take your bias out of it
Okay.
and argue the case for Ronaldo. And Dan, you're on Messi's side.
Yeah. You got the easy job.
Well,
I mean,
that's
you
how
say
good
that,
Sess
but
is.
I feel like I'm gonna, as a United fan, I'm betraying a legend. I personally am not going to be comfortable with this.
But as a
So-
United fan, you're used to players betraying United anyway, so.
That's true. That's true. How's Everton doing right now?
Okay, let's begin the debate.
That was the warm-up. Well, that's the pre-match warm-up sorted.
Yeah, so whenever we have these debates, big debates, it's always going to be that whatever subject we choose, we have to basically like swap the biases over, don't we?
Yeah,
So
you have to play
Yes.
you have to prove that you're not biased. To be on this podcast, you have to prove that you are all knowledgeable, not biased. You're able to put your bias aside.
Exactly. And this is why James is sat on the sideline for this episode.
How am I here then? I've bluffed my way through that.
I have faith in you, Dan. I have faith.
Yeah, I already feel
Okay.
like you're on Dan's side, by the way.
Well, no, you
Considering just before the episode started, you said you were on Dan's side.
No, I know. No, but you
Equally.
every episode announced that you are the world's most unbiased person.
That's what I'm called.
So, by
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
So, you're going to have to put your money where your mouth is. Gladiators, ready. All right, Dan, over to you for your opening statement.
Thank you very much. So, Messi's case first. Well, point one, he is better.
Wow, he's gone in with the big one first.
I can't argue against
It's
that,
hard
unfortunately.
I win. End of episode. No. Okay, so I think for me, I would have Messi above Ronaldo because of his all-round footballing ability and footballing intelligence. I think his input into a game is more dynamic. I think Ronaldo relies upon a lot of other people in terms of getting assists, stuff like that. He's a fantastic goal scorer, but as an all-round contribution to a football match, I think Messi provides a lot more in terms of footballing ability and creativity and making things happen that other people can't make happen. And he's been the best in the world for it for a very long time and is regarded as the greatest of all time for a very good reason. I also think, I know we've talked about this in the past in terms of boring football and having players, individuals and things. He is one of the last remaining players that has ability, intelligence, athleticism all rolled into one that can make him unplayable. Like, tactics won't be enough against Messi, so for me, that's what makes him head and shoulders above Ronaldo, as Ronaldo's a good goal scorer, but Messi is a better footballer.
Okay, Dan, thank you very much for that. Cess, over to you for your opening statement.
Right. Time to bring Dan down to whatever level is below me.
I don't know, I think down to third, I think.
Oh, is it? All right. Right, so I'm going to take bias out of this. So now, Cristiano Ronaldo is the greatest player of all time. Now, I'm not going to talk for my first argument about the number of goals he's scored, because he's statistically scored more goals than Messi, but that's not going to be the main thing I talk about. I'm going to talk about what we've spoken about many times over many months on our own podcast,
right,
which is competition and the players you play with. We've said with Pep versus Jurgen Klopp that we prefer what Klopp's gone through, not to say that Pep isn't a great manager, but we said that we like how Klopp's being challenged with Fergie and Pep as well. Fergie was challenged with Aberdeen, with what Man United looked like in 1986 when he took them over, and where he took them, where Klopp took Liverpool. Whereas with Pep, he was managing Barcelona, Bayern Munich and Man City. They were already expected to be one of the top teams to win things. With Messi, he spent most of his career, 85-90% of his career, in Barcelona. And so they were already at least going to be second in the league. And Messi happened to be in the same generation as the greatest Spanish or international teams of all time, really. With Iniesta, Xavi, Busquets, Puyol, Piqué. That Spanish international team that won everything for something like 4 years, almost all of them were in Barcelona with Messi. And without Messi, Iniesta and Xavi would have won the Ballon d'Or because they were second, third most of the years. So they already had an incredible team without Messi. And then Messi went to PSG after that. And PSG had huge stars. And they were winning I can't even remember actually if they won the French league every time he played there. But they were the biggest team in France. They didn't achieve too much in Europe. The way that we talked about how we prefer Klopp and Fergie's challenges over what Pep's had to overcome, I'm going to use that argument to say that Ronaldo has been challenged far more, and he's ended up, at the very least, competing alongside Messi, if not being ahead of him.
All right, interesting. That was a hell of an opening statement there, Cess.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah.
Everyone else just...
I see.
We're going to have a recess now.
I see what you're doing there, Cess. Can I just want to call Cess out now.
Yeah.
He's already emotionally blackmailing me with Sir Alex Ferguson in his opening statement, getting me on the back foot. It's not going to work. I'm not going to rise to it. I just want to call it out now.
I'm just throwing the bait into the pond and seeing if you bite it.
Yeah. It was good. It was a good attempt. I doff my cap to you.
Thank you.
Right, so your opening statement's now out the way, guys. Now it's a free-for-all, so you're allowed to talk over each other here. Dan, over to you to start. Over to you. And Cess, you can come in at any point.
Okay, so I just want to pick up on your points in terms of the challenges.
Oh, yeah.
You talk about the one I think that comes to mind first is when you spoke about the Euros. Yeah, the Euros is more difficult than the Copa America.
Yes!
However, the tournament that they both competed in, the World Cup, Messi has won and Ronaldo has not. So the tournament where they're both in this,
yeah.
So that kind of mutes that argument a bit.
Does it? Because I said the competitions and the players they play with. I would say if you take Ronaldo out of Portugal and Messi out of Argentina, the Argentinian teams, I reckon, produced better players and as a team They were better. They had a better chance to win.
Generationally, yes. However, the tournament that Messi actually won, if you look at that Portuguese team and you look at that Argentina team on paper, that Portuguese team was better.
It's hard to argue because I'll probably agree. But, however, when it comes to that one competition, Messi's only won one compared to Ronaldo's 0. So we're not saying that Messi's won 5 or 6. We're just talking about one trophy between the two of them. And
yeah, but it's a pretty big trophy.
It's a humongous trophy, yeah. However, I would say that the fact that Ronaldo's able to still, at the age of 39, still keep going at a rate that I think Messi's had to slow down on is also another factor. You're talking about someone who, I've just done the calculation, by the way. So he's 39 years old. He started his career at the age of 17. That means he's had to average over 41 goals a season in order to get to this point. If you're a 17-year-old now and you don't score 41 goals, you're already behind. That's the level we're talking about here.
It is insane. I mean, so if you count their like all-time career goals, though, excluding USA and Saudi, because do we count those leagues? If you're talking about the competitions, that was your argument. That was your argument saying which competitions and the challenges.
Yeah.
Do we count USA and Saudi if we're not talking?
I would say not really.
Talking about challenges. No. So you take that out of the equation. Then there's like 20 goals difference between the two of them. Okay, you made a point about them score, like Ronaldo having more goals. Yes, he's got 836. Messi's got 816. However, Messi has something like 105 minutes per goal to Ronaldo's 113.
Yeah.
So his efficiency is better in terms of game time, and his minutes per goal contribution is 73 versus 88. He has 361 assists to Ronaldo's 238, and that supports my point in terms of his all-round
but that's only looking at
contribution to the game.
That's only looking at it on the face of it. You can't just look at the statistics in that sense, because you've got to also see the competition. When Messi started his career at the age of, I think he started when he was 17 as well. He started in that Barcelona team I was talking about, in a league where there's only Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid really as the big competition. You've got Sevilla and Valencia at some point. Yeah. Whereas Ronaldo, when he started, he played for, I can't remember how many, 40 games or something for Sporting. And then he, from the age of 17 or 18, he was at Man United for 6 years. And so the number of goals that he scored at that time, it was at a slower rate than what Messi scored. So I would say when you look at the goals per minute and stuff, it's always going to be skewed, because at his young age, he was at what we class as the toughest league in the world.
But then when he went to Real Madrid and they were in the same league, Messi was still competing him for numbers at the same time. They were scoring similar kind of goals. One might have been a bit better than the other, but they were very similar. So in terms of when they were in the same league doing the same competition, you look at the World Cup, you look at La Liga, like in terms of their goal contributions, it was pretty much neck and neck. But in terms of Messi's all-round game versus, because the thing with Ronaldo is, because his game is goal scoring, he can have a terrible 90 minutes, score a goal, and that's his game. So if a player that contributes far more to a game is also scoring the same amount of goals as a player that doesn't contribute to the game, that player is doing more.
Yeah, well, firstly, it's the number of goals, not the amount of goals.
Order.
However...
I didn't realise we were debating grammar here.
I got to win somehow. Just that's what I'm saying. But you've got to think as well, if we're talking about the World Cup and we say Messi's got one World Cup over Ronaldo, then I would say the Champions League is actually more difficult to win in terms of the standard, because we've always said, haven't we, like the domestic standard is higher than international. Ronaldo has was been in teams that's won the most Champions Leagues, and I would say any Real Madrid team that Ronaldo played for is not as good as the teams that Messi played with when Barcelona won the Champions League.
True. However, Real Madrid have since gone on to win Champions Leagues without Ronaldo, so he was not really any contributing factor to that. Real Madrid are just, that's their tournament, and that's a thing there, isn't it? So, and when you look at the Champions League in terms of that level of competition, I think back to 2009 and the final where Man United played Barcelona, and it was like Messi, Ronaldo. This was when Ronaldo's last season at Man United, and Ronaldo was non-existent, and Messi absolutely destroyed us that game. He was head and shoulders above every other player on that pitch by a long way.
And what we're saying,
that's a head-to-head game. That's
Barcelona team that I would say most people would say that's the greatest domestic team of all time. So that's what I'm saying is Messi happened to be playing in a time when...
No, because there are individual quotes from players like Rio Ferdinand who just say Messi alone was unplayable. They don't say Barcelona was unplayable. Yeah, but that's because... say Messi was on another level.
Yes, he did. Ferdinand said that. Ferdinand said the middle three... no, it was Scholes, wasn't it? The middle three, they were just literally it was like men against boys, just running rings around them. Scholes hated it.
Scholes said that.
Yeah. And that's Paul Scholes. You know how good Paul Scholes is, how much we love Paul Scholes, and yet Scholes himself admitted that it was men against boys. And that's the level. That's even without talking about Messi, just talking about Xavi, Iniesta, Busquets, they already ran rings around him. And that's, you've got to think about Dani Alves, right back. He's considered one of the greatest right backs of all time as well. You just have these players that they would walk into any team in any era, and that's without even thinking about Messi.
That's very true. But then the years where Real Madrid won their Champions Leagues, although that particular team in comparison to the Barcelona team might not have been as strong as that Barcelona team, that's a difficult argument to sort of counter against, because that Barcelona team was probably one of the greatest ever in the history of the game. However, Real Madrid at the time of winning the tournament, when they won the Champions League, you can only beat what's in front of you, right?
Yeah.
So that at the time of winning those Champions Leagues, they were head and shoulders above everybody else in terms of their players. The players that Ronaldo had around him, they weren't as good as Xavi and Iniesta, but they were just as much better than the other teams in the tournament, in the same way that Barcelona were better than other teams.
I would say that's because of Ronaldo. Do you realise that with Ronaldo, when he was at Real Madrid, he scored on average more than a goal a game? So we're saying that if he scored one goal, he would worsen his average. That's the level that he played at when he was at Real Madrid.
I think Ronaldo's a better goal scorer. I just don't think he's a better footballer.
And that gives the opportunity for a team to win. Because if you don't score, you have no chance of winning. And Real Madrid, the whole point about football, or sports in general, is because you want to win. Which means in football, 100%. You need goals. And Ronaldo did exactly that.
Do you know what happens when you win, though? You get trophies. And... like Messi won a World Cup and got a trophy for it, and Ronaldo hasn't. So if it's about winning, then Messi comes out on top as well, doesn't he?
And again, it comes down to the competition. Messi did get the World Cup, and Messi got to the final in 2014 as well. I completely understand that. However, you need the goals to win games, and I think whatever happens, I remember there was one Champions League year where it was Real Madrid against United in the quarterfinals or something. I can't remember now. There was 2 legs, and Ronaldo scored in both. And I remember James and I were living together at the time, and we watched one or both of those, and we thought Ronaldo didn't play well, but he scored both times. Do you remember that? When Nani got sent red carded for high studs? Yeah. So it was that one.
That was upsetting.
And so, however Ronaldo played, whether he played well, whether he played badly, he pretty much always scored. And for a player, and with success, you need these goals. And Ronaldo got you these goals one way or the other. And I would say with a team that, on average, when they were both playing at Real Madrid and Barcelona, I would say Real Madrid had the worst team. The team still managed to win probably the toughest competition.
So your argument for Ronaldo being better is that he plays badly?
No. The argument, I've always said, and I think someone else said, maybe it was Rio Ferdinand said, the best players are the players that still contribute when they're playing badly. And I would say
but Messi still contributes, doesn't he?
Messi can disappear.
But Messi very rarely, the thing is, Messi very rarely plays badly. And I personally think that's what puts him on another level. Yeah, okay.
I've seen Messi play badly and not contribute. I mean, you've only got to look at
I've
what
seen
he's done
Ronaldo play badly and not contribute. He's played badly and contributed, but
I would reckon that the times when Ronaldo's played badly, there's very few times when he doesn't contribute. He's always involved in some way. Sure, he can be selfish. I think we all know that.
My point is more that Messi he's not miles off Ronaldo for goal scoring. He competes with Ronaldo for goal scoring, but Messi is far more than just a goal scorer. I think for Ronaldo to be considered a better player, he would have to be much better at scoring goals than Messi, because he doesn't contribute as much as Messi does to the rest of the game.
Does he have to? I mean, that's not his role. That wasn't his role when he was younger, and that's not his role when he became a striker. He's not expected to be the number 10 guy, because Messi plays in that position. That's what he's expected to be.
I suppose now you're getting into a point of how can we even debate this, because two different roles and two different types of players, but then they are
but
debating it.
If you look at when they started, they were both 17 when they started. I would say Ronaldo had the bigger impact. You remember his first game, his debut for Man United. I think he was 18 by then, but he exploded onto the scene.
He had an excellent debut. Not a great opening season though. I think he only scored 2 goals or something. It took him a good 3-4 years before he really started.
It wasn't 3-4
scoring.
years. Yeah, I mean, fair enough. A couple of years it would have taken him a while, but he was playing in the toughest competition. He managed to win the Ballon d'Or when he was in England. Has there been another player who's won the Ballon d'Or? I suppose Rodri is the next one. So it took, 15 years or something for there to be another Premier League player to have won the Ballon d'Or. And Ronaldo did that. Messi winning the Ballon d'Or loads of times, he had a far better opportunity playing for the best team possibly in the
We've already critiqued the Ballon d'Or. We've already said the Ballon d'Or's broken, so we can't use the Ballon d'Or as an argument for somebody being better.
You can't necessarily just use that as someone being better. However, I'm talking about the competition. The Premier League is a far tougher league throughout, because it's not just 1 or 2 teams being good. We're talking about 8 or 9 teams being great, and then the rest of them giving you a tough time.
But you don't know how Messi would have been in the Premier League because he didn't play
exactly.
in it. So it's unfair to use that. But it's unfair to use that as an argument against him when we can look at head-to-heads between the two of them, where Messi came out on top.
And it's only fair that you can't use it against them. However, the reason why I said that I prefer Klopp over Pep or Fergie over Pep is because they have been challenged. You don't use it against Pep, but you use it for Fergie or Klopp. And I would say I use it for Ronaldo, that he was tested. And he was willing to go to Spain after that, to going to Juventus in his 30s. What was he, 33, 34? Whatever it was. And he was still outscoring everyone. When he left Real Madrid had the worst start in their history. And when he went to Juventus, they had the best start in their history. And I reckon. And what did Messi do when he went to PSG? He did very little.
Yeah, I mean, what did Ronaldo do when he came back to the Premier League?
He outscored everyone. From Man United.
No, he didn't. No, Man United it was our worst point finish in Premier League history or something.
Yeah,
so
and it wouldn't have worked.
Obviously didn't contribute a huge amount. He scored goals, he got some hat tricks or whatever, but he obviously didn't contribute enough. Otherwise, we definitely would have been in a better situation than we ended up.
Yeah, but that's what happens when you buy a 37-year-old or whatever he was at the time. Are you going to expect a 37-year-old, any 37-year-old in the world, are you going to expect them to turn Man United, who have been volatile for 10 years now, into anything other than basically what happened with Ronaldo? Even Messi's 37 now, and he's having to basically go on a retirement tour in America.
But this was more my count, rather than sort of going off on a little bit of a tangent. This was my counterpoint to you talking about Messi at PSG. So Messi went to PSG, didn't do much, but Ronaldo went to the Premier League and didn't do much. So the 2 points kind of cancel each other out, was what I was getting at.
Can you say that he didn't do much? I mean, he scored 25 goals in the first season he was there. Messi literally didn't do much. He was outscored by Mbappe, and I think he was very close to Neymar, if not third.
Okay, maybe you have a point there. potentially. But I suppose this is towards the end of their careers, though, isn't it? I don't think this is a time where we can judge them, actually.
It is, but that's another thing. That's what I mean. Messi, he only got tested when he went to PSG in terms of playing outside of what he knows. Playing outside of the league he's always played in and the players he's always played with. All of a sudden, he struggles in a way that he hadn't struggled before. Ronaldo, can you really say that he's changed his intensity in any league he's gone to?
Thank you, chaps. Well, there's the end of round 1, so well done. Get a glass of water or whatever. As we enter round 2 is a contextual round. So I'm going to give you a context. I'll give you guys a team, and you need to argue the case that your player in their prime would be the better choice. So they can only sign one of the two. Cess, you have to argue for Ronaldo. Dan, you need to argue for Messi. That the club I'm going to give you should sign one of those two players.
Okay.
And the club is Liverpool FC under Jurgen Klopp. Cess, this time you will go first. So round 2, it's Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool FC in around 2020, 2021 sort of time. Okay. We're just out of the pandemic. You need a player. You're going to argue the case for Ronaldo. Over to you.
Right. Okay. So we're talking about in their prime. So I would say then, Ronaldo in his prime, you're looking at going from United to Real Madrid. You've got that period of maybe 4 or 5 years when he was slowly changing from a left forward player to be more central, the main striker guy after that. He was still playing in a front three, used the BBC, so he had Benzema as the main striker. However, Ronaldo kind of fit into what I would see probably as kind of what Salah is doing on the right-hand side. So he's almost basically the main striker in a sense that he's the one that's the most relied on for the goals, but he occupies the right-hand side. Now, that would mean that Ronaldo would take on the left-hand side, the Sadio Mane role. However great Sadio Mane is, I would say Ronaldo in his prime, way better than Sadio Mane. And imagine the number of goals that Ronaldo would bring. Absolutely brilliant. I think no one would bat an eyelid, immediately go, yeah, I'd have that. And we're also talking about a Jurgen Klopp team that pretty famously didn't use the centre of the pitch in the way that other teams did. If you look at from 2017 to 2021-22 era, their middle, even though they had good midfielders, they were basically there to break up play. The main thing they did, kind of like what Barcelona did around the 2015 era, where they had the MSN, was that they would bypass the midfielder, get the ball up to the front three as quickly as possible. And the front three then would be Ronaldo on the left, Firmino in the middle, and Salah on the right. And I would say that would be a damn good team. They were already fighting for the Champions League, fighting for the Premier League alongside Man City. And I think they won in maybe 2018 or 2019, they won the Premier League and then the Champions League just before that. So they were already competing for those for those trophies. And then you're adding Ronaldo onto the front left-hand side. I reckon that's it. If you've got Messi, what you're talking about is you've got a left-footed player who prefers playing on the right. What are you going to do? Bench Salah?
Oh, well, thanks for your statement there, Cess, your opening statement of round 2.
Yeah.
Over to you, Dan. So your case for Messi in Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool side.
Wow. That was a very well put argument, I have to say.
Wow.
Yeah, I have to say. I was literally listening to everything you say going, oh my God, I've got the wrong team here, haven't I?
Of all the teams, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, one thing I would probably say, it's very hard for me to argue for Messi to fit into Klopp's style of play.
Get in. 1 point to me, right? Judge.
However, I feel that Ronaldo would not be accepted in a Jurgen Klopp team due to his lack of work rate. So he is not a presser. He's not he's not a team player. He wants to be the main guy all the time, which I think may well contradict how Klopp structured his team and actually cause the players around him to drop in performance. Whereas Messi, you would find a position 4, maybe, I know he's left-footed, so on the left is maybe not ideal, but he could probably even play deeper if needs be, because he's that versatile as a footballer. You could find a place for him if we had to put him in there, and he would work for the team. He would work under the ethos of Jurgen Klopp, where everyone has their role and everyone does their thing, as opposed to being an ego that wants to be the main man. So I believe as an individual and as a character and how he plays the game, Messi would be better suited. It's just in terms of his position, he doesn't naturally fit a front three, how potentially Ronaldo would on the left-hand side. However, just because his position suits the left-hand side, Ronaldo would not be accepted in a Liverpool team because his selfish style of playing.
Interesting response. How will Cesc react? You guys now have an open 3 minutes. I'm capping you at, and you can interrupt each other if you like, if you so wish.
Well, your
time starts now.
I'm instantly going to bring up the fact that I managed to find a place for Ronaldo, whereas Dan decided to be very vague and say, "Oh, Klopp will find a place, it's good enough." I reckon, for an argument to say, if he's going to fit in the 2020 to 21 Jurgen Klopp team, I've made the better argument because I've put him in exactly the spot that he should be, instead of being vague enough just to say, "Oh yeah, he'll be somewhere and he'll do a better job."
Do you have a response for that, Dan?
Fine, I'll give him an exact position. I'll say in the centre of midfield, put him there.
Centre of midfield, as in instead of
Henderson
or Wijnaldum.
I would go because he plays a 4-3-3, doesn't he? He plays a more attacking third, so he plays you've got 2 holders and then a more attacking midfielder. I'd have him the more attacking midfielder in the 3.
Okay. And then, so the only thing that you would say against Ronaldo is that he's the selfish player, because he was always, I would say, I would agree with that, a selfish player.
You say the only thing, it would be a very defining thing for Jurgen Klopp in that team. So it's a big thing.
To an extent. I mean, you're talking about someone who is selfish for a reason. He gets you the goals to get the trophies. That's exactly what he did with Real Madrid. I would argue that Klopp's Liverpool team, the team that won everything in the space of 2 or 3 years, I would say that is as good, if not a better team than any Real Madrid team that Ronaldo played. And you could only really say that Real Madrid was better because of Ronaldo. So if you put that Ronaldo, we're talking about prime Ronaldo, in that Liverpool team, I would say it would pip them above the Real Madrid team that Ronaldo played in.
That Real Madrid team played so much different to Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool. Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool team was very much heavily drilled. It was under work rate, intensity, and a coherent sort of connected style of play between the players that Ronaldo would not be a part of.
But it's only it's only that because of the front three. The aim of that Klopp team was to get the ball to the front three as quick as possible. If you're doing that, then getting the ball to Salah, Ronaldo, or Firmino, I would say
that was one element of the game, but it wasn't the whole thing, was it? That's oversimplifying Klopp's football, isn't it? It was very much about high press and everything else as well, which Ronaldo would not do.
Which is something that Messi famously doesn't do. He actually, if anything, if you're talking about a high press, that's something that Messi does even worse than Ronaldo. There's
but I didn't put him in the front three.
There's montages or collages of Messi just walking around. He literally doesn't do any pressing. It's kind of almost like with Marcus Rashford, you walk past him.
Yeah, but I didn't put him in the front three. You put Ronaldo in the front three. If you've got a high press for the front three, then you can't have Ronaldo there.
Yeah, but that's always... If your argument is for the high press, then that means Messi would do just as bad, if not worse. Because just because he's an attacking midfielder, he would still have to do just as much of a high press as anyone else. So I would say if that's the argument for the high press, then that's just as much an argument against Messi as it would be for Ronaldo.
I think neither of the two players would fit in Klopp's system, so it's hard to use that. It's hard to use that as a summary of who's the better player. Do you know what I mean?
Well, one final thing then before we end this is that Ronaldo played in the Premier League, so we know. Whereas we don't know with Messi, we can only guess. You know?
Yes, he played in the not for Jurgen Klopp though, did he? So
no, but it's the league.
Well, and all of the competitions that they both played in, Messi came out on top, didn't he? So
all of the Champions League where Ronaldo outscored him, and in internationals when Ronaldo outscored him.
Hang on, has he outscored him in the Champions League?
Yeah, Ronaldo's
he's outscored him in internationals, yeah, but he hasn't got a World Cup, has he? So and
listen to episode 1 of our first season where we talk about how you can't just use a trophy as a way to measure someone's greatness.
So why do you score goals? To win games. Why do you win games? To win trophies.
Yeah. So which means that Ronaldo is doing a good job then. Ronaldo's got more Champions Leagues. By
one, is it? He's got one more Champions League, I think.
One more World Cup than Ronaldo.
Well, this has been an intense debate so far.
Yeah.
I'm now going to give you one final chance with a closing statement to wrap up your arguments. Over to you first, Dan.
For me, I just feel like Ronaldo's a great goal scorer and nothing else. And for him to be classed as a better player than Messi, a better football player, not a better goal scorer, a better football player, his goal scoring would have to be astronomically higher to outdo the other things that Messi brings to the game. And it isn't.
Thank you, Dan. Over to you, Cess, for your final statement.
So, I would say, firstly, that Dan did well arguing the case as much as possible, and I think he had a much easier challenge to say that Messi is better. However, I think he failed because he didn't use our methods to be able to talk about their greatness. Because I think the way I did it, I looked at the overall challenges that they've had to face with the competitions they played in, with the players they played with, how they succeeded, the length of time they've gone. And I think in those aspects, Ronaldo has proven himself where Messi hasn't. And I'm not saying that Messi wouldn't be capable of it, kind of like that Liverpool argument. However, we've seen Ronaldo do it. We've seen Ronaldo do it in countless different leagues. He's been able to prove it each time without changes in his goal contributions. And that, for me, is the reason why Ronaldo is the better player.
Well, thank you very much, guys. Okay, one final question for both of you then. So if you could pick either player at their peaks to come into your sides, who are you having?
What, to Everton?
Yeah, for your team, yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Well, I'd choose Messi.
Okay, Dan, who would you pick?
I would. I'd choose Messi.
Yeah. All right, then.
So we both agree that Messi's the better player.
We both agree that Messi's the best. It's all irrelevant because Dennis Bergkamp's the best player.
Oh, God. We didn't even bring him up. We didn't bring up Arsenal, and somehow...
Still manages it, doesn't he?
Yeah, always. So then, in terms of our debate, so the debate itself, we're not talking about what you think, who you think is the better between Messi and Ronaldo. Who do you think won the debate of Messi and Ronaldo?
If I was breaking this down into criteria... So, in terms of methodology of your debates, well done. Both of you put up some good debate methodology. But, Cess, you did stick to the Football is Fixable, Alright podcast rules.
Boom!
Can I just interject here? Can I just interject here?
No, you may not, Dan, actually.
You cannot interrupt judge in his court.
No, because you've done fixing stats, and the key factor for Ronaldo being better is that he scored more goals, which is a stat.
You're interrupting your judge. You realise that was...
That wasn't actually my argument about the stats, because I was talking about how you can only really compare each other when they're in the same competition at the same time.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
So what I was going to say was your methodology, Cess, was slightly better put together in the sense that it took away from... statistics being an overall influence and that kind of thing. You considered it in its context. What I also learnt was that Ronaldo might well be the better goal scorer, But Messi is the better player. And I think even part of your argument, Sess, back to what Dan was saying there, that he may well be the better player if you wanted one. In round 2, I felt that Dan's counter-argument to yours, that Ronaldo would not work in the philosophy of Jurgen Klopp, was very strong. It had extra weight to it. So I felt that Dan won round 2, which means it's 1-1 across the 2 rounds. And I found that interesting, because instead of looking at Messi's strengths, he looked at Ronaldo's weaknesses. So it put an interesting twist on that.
Thinking.
So then, in the final summary, Dan has been through an ordeal recently with, losing to Arsenal recently. They lost their manager, Ten Hag, just a few weeks back as well.
Is this how he's going to win the debate? Because Man United didn't play well.
Which I feel will no doubt be playing on his mind and impact on how he's able to perform at this debate. So therefore, I've had to take that into account with my judgment.
I think Seth won.
You do realise Everton's languishing in near the relegation zone, and you're saying, "Oh, Man United, poor Man United." Oh, yeah.
I'll have no more of this back chat in my court. I can't even speak. I'll have no more of this back chat in my court. Dan, congratulations! You win the debate. Round of applause there.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Appreciate
Well done.
it.
Well done, Dan.
What do you think is really what matters? So listeners, let us know. Get in touch with your comments. Who is the better player and who won this debate?
Yeah, that's what I want to know more, because we all agree that Messi's the better player. So I want to know about the debate. And don't give it to Dan because Man United didn't play so well recently.
No, give it to me because I was clearly better in the debate.
And I'd just like to say, Man United beat Everton 4-0 recently, and still I got no sympathy vote for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if we gave Everton sympathy every time they lost, we'd lose all sympathy. There's only so much sympathy in the world, Seth. I'm sorry.
Clearly, yeah, that's true, yeah.
Well, after that moist, hot and spicy debate, it's time to get on to some juicy fantasy football tips.
Oh,
juicy.
Let me tickle your tips, John.
John's juicy tips.
Yeah.
Alright, you know what time it is? It's time for some more juicy tips. And this week's big FPL news is that the new assistant managership is on its way. My thoughts on this are summed up well by the wise Canadian poet named Avril Lavigne when she said, "Why'd you have to go and make things so complicated?" Anyway, I'm not going to try and understand it until game week 24 when the chip becomes playable. So here's my tips for this week. Defense is US soccer's finest, Anthony Robinson. There's no better left back in the league right now. He's a brilliant crosser the ball and already has 6 assists to his name for Fulham, who have a kind Christmas fixture list coming up. And in midfield, it's a smiling assassin himself. It's Diogo Jota for Liverpool. He has returned from his lengthy layoff, and it only took Diogo 5 minutes off the bench to show how deadly he is in front of goal. So, it's time to make some space in your teams for him. And up front, it's Bournemouth's Brazilian baller. It's Evan Nielsen. His team have great form and fixtures, so even Niels soon start scoring goals. He's only 6.1 million and less than 5% owned, so well worth a punt. Juicy.
Thanks very much, John. What do you think of those tips, Sess?
Juicy.
Excellent.
Yes.
They tickled me.
And we will see you next time on the Footballers Fixable Alright podcast. It's a goodbye from me.
It's a goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me.